All right, let's talk about something that's a huge deal in the AI world. How do you get answers you can actually trust? Today, we're going to break down a really powerful technique called self-consistency prompting that helps you do just that.
So let's start with a problem that I know you've run into. You're working with an AI, and you get that little voice in the back of your head asking, can I really trust this answer?
I mean, this is it, right? This is one of the most maddening things. You ask a complex question, you get a great, detailed answer, but just to be sure, you ask it again, and bam! You get a completely different but equally convincing answer. It's so frustrating. So which one do you believe? This is a massive challenge when you need results you can count on.
But what if I told you that you could actually turn that randomness, that inconsistency, into your biggest strength? Well, you can. There's an awesome technique designed for this exact problem, and it's called self-consistency prompting. You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it like a mini voting system for AI answers. Seriously, instead of just taking the first thing it says, you're basically making the AI generate a few options and then holding an election to find the best one. It's a simple idea, but the results are incredible.
Okay, so how does this whole voting thing actually work in practice? Let's dive into the specifics of self-consistency and see how you can use it to get answers that are way more accurate and dependable.
So here's the core idea. It's a strategy where you get an AI to generate multiple, different lines of reasoning, different paths to an answer for the exact same prompt. Then you just look at all the final answers and pick the one that shows up the most. It's majority rules. So the thinking here is simple, really. You're not just asking for an answer, you're telling the AI to explore the problem from a few different angles. It generates several different lines of thought, you gather them all up, and you pick the most consistent result. This is how you really start to build confidence in the AI's output.
Now, this is super important. This technique is a powerhouse, but you don't use it for everything, right? You're not going to use this to ask, what's the capital of France? That's just a waste of time. But for the tricky stuff, we're talking math puzzles, complex logic problems, or even planning out a business strategy, this is where it absolutely shines.
Okay, so we've got the what and the why. Now for the fun part, the how. Let's walk through a super simple 4-step guide so you can start putting this into practice like today.
And believe me, it really is this easy. First, you'll want to use what's called a chain of thought prompt. All that means is telling the AI to think step by step. Easy enough. Step 2, you explicitly ask it to give you several different reasoning paths. Step 3 is on you. You look over the logic for each path and see what final answer it came to. And finally, step 4, you pick the winner. The answer that pops up most often is usually your best bet.
Theory is one thing, but let's see what this actually looks like. I've got a really great example that'll make this whole idea click. And then we'll go over some common mistakes so you can avoid them from the get-go.
I absolutely love this analogy. Think about it. You're not just asking a single detective who did it. No way! You're bringing in 3 different detectives to solve the same case. And you tell each one, show me your work step by step. Then you get to be the chief inspector, looking at all the evidence, all their different lines of reasoning, and you decide whose case is the most solid. It's a perfect way to visualize what you're doing.
Okay, that detective analogy makes it sound pretty straightforward, but just like in any real investigation, there are definitely some traps you can fall into. So let's talk about the most common mistakes so you can get this right from the very beginning. So let's nail 2 big ones right away. First mistake, just asking for 3 answers. If you do that, you're going to get a jumbled mess. The fix is so easy though. Just tell the AI to label everything. Path 1, Path 2, Path 3. Super organized. The second mistake is forgetting to ask for a final comparison. You can actually make the model do the work for you. Just add a final instruction. Now compare these paths and tell me which one is the most logical.
And here are 2 more quick ones. Like we said before, don't use this for simple facts. This is your heavy hitter for complex problems where accuracy really matters. And maybe the most important point of all, the majority vote is a huge clue, but it isn't gospel. It's not foolproof. At the end of the day, you're still the one in charge. You have to use your own judgment to make the final call.
Okay, let's bring it all home with a quick recap of what we've covered and then a little teaser for what's coming up next.
So if you remember one thing from today, make it this. For any complex task, never settle for the first answer you get. Make the AI show its work in a few different ways, use that mini vote we talked about, and then pick the most consistent result. It is a total game changer for getting AI outputs you can actually count on.
And that brings us to a final thought. We've been talking about exploring a few different paths, but what if What if you could get an AI to explore an entire branching tree of possibilities, where it could evaluate different ideas and even backtrack from dead ends? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down in our next explainer on Tree of Thought prompting. You are not going to want to miss that. See you then.